Now, I just want to make it clear. You have about 1.6 million followers, while Stephen A. has 2.3 million.
Oh, well.
Well, you didn't have to give out that number. Yeah. That's irrelevant. As far as I'm concerned, the two of us have 4 million.
Don't try to be friendly.
That's the way I look at it.
Don't try to be friendly, because if it was vice versa, he would have been like, yeah, I got more than you.
But remember, he's got a radio show. I don't have a radio show.
You need a radio show.
And people know that he is capable of going more haywire on Twitter than I am. Because you never know what might come from you.
But you missed the most important point. I didn't have nearly as many followers until you asked me to join you on First Take.
He's being generous today. Look at this wonderful, humble man.
Being generous. I think
this humble.
We have followers. We have followers.
Anyway, so these are the suggestions. You're going to
go ahead and follow Tim Tebow.
You're going to change your mind at the end of the show. Meanwhile, let's move on to a recent survey. Don't follow Tim Tebow. It says more than 1,400 registered voters, 77% of them believe that Michael Jordan is the greatest NBA player of all time, and 34% said MJ would beat LeBron James one-on-one right now at the age of 52. You hear that? 52 years old. They still think he can beat LeBron James right now. That's 34%. 54% say no, LeBron would win the matchup if it was one-on-one. Here's the kicker, though, and we're talking about a specific age group. Look at this age group. They feel that if you're between the ages of 30 and 45 years old, 48% believe Jordan would take LeBron one-on-one. So, Skip, did the American people get it right?
The 34%.
The 34%. I mean, and what we're saying is, can he right now, at 52 years old,
right here, right now,
beat LeBron one-on-one? I mean, and beyond. Come on.
You know, Stephen A. Smith.
Oh gosh, don't do this.
You know. He just might be able to.
Don't do
He
this.
just might be able to.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to explain why he might be able to in just a moment. But allow me to either qualify or disqualify myself, because you know, Stephen A. Smith, there is no bigger Jordan fan than this guy right here. I did cover him when I was the columnist for the Chicago Tribune. He was at the end of his Bulls run, and I must admit, I got along with him better than most in the media did. Michael could be a little rough on the media, a little tough, a little distant, a little finicky.
Sure.
But I did get along with him, so maybe I'm not objective there. But I also feel like I have insight into what made him the greatest competitor in the history of sports. So if right here, right now, Michael would stop smoking his cigars, change his diet up, if you gave him, I'm gonna say 2 months. 2 months into the off season, okay?
No cigars, diet change.
To get himself back into some semblance of basketball shape. Not that he ever falls completely out of shape, but I'm talking about getting into one-on-one, going up against LeBron kind of shape. 2 months is all I would need. I would train him, actually. And I believe that on intangibles alone, we're talking about the mentally toughest superstar in the history of sport going up against, head-to-head with a man in LeBron James whose mental toughness has sometimes been a little in question in the biggest moments. This would be the biggest moment of LeBron's life. He would be up against his idol. And trust me, he'd start to shake a little bit. His palms would start getting a little wet as the game got a little closer and tighter in the end. And we both know that in LeBron's advancing NBA years, he's not the explosive athlete he once was. He now has to labor to be spectacular, when in the past he did it effortlessly. So I'm not sure. If we want to talk about LeBron 8 years ago versus 52-year-old Jordan, that might be tough. But this guy who's a little more ground-bound, who's not quite as quick as he used to be, obviously very strong, but so is Michael Jordan. I say that on this alone and this alone, Michael Jordan could figure a way to beat a LeBron James who just might crumble under the pressure to beat his idol, the greatest basketball player in the history of life.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we got this right. 2 months, just give him 2 months, no cigars, diet change, and trained by you specifically, and just with heart and head, he'd be able to do it. Those are the intangibles.
So that makes those 34%. That's a high number.
So
that makes them correct.
Let me tell y'all something. Michael Jordan is my man, our brother. I love him dearly. He's the greatest player.
Here we go.
To me, he's the greatest player who ever lived. I don't care about Bill Russell's 11 championships. Michael Jordan is the greatest I've ever seen in my life. Having said that, not only are you wrong, but I feel like I owe the viewing public an apology on behalf of First Take for us even broaching this subject. It's disgraceful. Father Time is undefeated. It's not about training. It's not about all of this stuff. It's ridiculous. We're talking, you know, this is why you can praise LeBron for the next 5 years. This is why if I'm him, I could never talk to you. How could, he's the best player in the world. We're not talking about Matthew Dellavedova or you know, somebody, some no name on an NBA squad. We are talking about an individual universally recognized as the greatest basketball player on the planet Earth right now. And you're telling me that a 52-year-old...
That's what he's telling you.
...who is, regardless of his greatness, a 52-year-old Michael Jordan, who's remarried, beautiful, gorgeous wife, new father.
Stay relevant.
Hold on, wait a minute. The cigar... Listen, Skip, now, let me ask you a question. Can you erase the cigars and, you know, the age and attrition and all of that stuff in 2 months? You can erase that, huh? You can erase that.
Yeah.
So in other words, Skip, I can go ahead, Skip, and eat all the crunch berries that I want for the next year. Yeah. But give me a month or 2 months, and you know what? We can eradicate what I did to my body for the previous year. It doesn't work that way.
Well, it depends how much you ate.
Well, it's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. I'm just saying. You can laugh about it all you want to. Go ahead, giggle all you want, Kerry. The bottom line is this. The bottom line is this. LeBron is the best player in the world.
It's ridiculous.
And you're saying that a 52-year-old man who hasn't played in the NBA in a decade, that's just disrespectful.
It's disrespectful.
That's just disrespectful, man.
It's disrespectful.
It really is.
It really is.
Point number one. LeBron James, for these 6 games he played against the Bulls, shot 3 for 28 from the three-point line. That is a total of 11%. LeBron James is a pretty awful outside shooter. And if you're going to play one-on-one, occasionally against a very strong man and a very savvy basketball player, Michael Jordan, you're going to feel like you got to go ahead and pull up and shoot those threes, shoot those longer shots. I don't know if we would count three-pointers as three-pointers, but if we did, LeBron would be tempted to fall back on the J way too often. I'm sorry, under pressure, we have seen, and this would be the most pressure LeBron James would ever feel, especially if we televise this. This would be bigger than Pacquiao and Mayweather. We would be there.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm not talking about LeBron.
Hold on.
I'm talking about 52 years old, Father Time. Stop it.
I'm not going to stop it because I am talking about a LeBron James who, in some of his biggest moments in his past, had 2 of the biggest superstar meltdowns in the history of sports, against the Celtics and then against the Dallas Mavericks in the finals. You know it and I know it. LeBron is very susceptible to psychological warfare. Nobody can play dirty, quote unquote, verbally more than Michael Jordan. If LeBron James was whining about the trash talk of Noah crossing the line the other day, really? Of Joakim Noah, he crossed the line. He can't do that to me. Do you have any idea how Michael Jordan would annihilate LeBron James with trash talk that would go over the line? LeBron would be a puddle by the end of this competition. Trust me.
He's not listening anymore.
Well, it's correct. He doesn't want to hear it because he dug in prematurely once again.
I'm embarrassed that we're discussing this.
No.
Let's move on.
I have a suggestion. You should follow LeBron on Twitter. What do you think?
Now, that I would think
What do you think about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got a little, you know, if he wins the chip, maybe.
Yeah. Think about that.
Because this would be a tough one to win. This would be all.
I mean,
on
why stop there, Skip Bayless? Why don't you sit there and say Bill Russell is ready to outplay Dwight Howard? Why stop at Jordan and LeBron?
Is he?
Father Time clearly doesn't matter to you.
Did I say
Age
that?
and attrition clearly doesn't matter to you.
And
birth certificates clearly don't matter to you. Then why don't you say Bill Russell can beat Dwight Howard?
You're thinking?
The bubble up above my head. Do you realize Michael Jordan once talked about watch me play at 50? I think he had serious thoughts about playing in the NBA at age 50. So at 52...
Bob Cousy can outplay Chris Paul.
Oh,
why don't you say that? Why don't you say that?
That's all you got?
Let's go.
Is that all you got?
Jerry West can outplay James Harden.
Jerry
West can outplay... Jerry West, he's a
52
silhouette. He's an NBA silhouette. Jerry West can outplay James Harden. Why don't you get in there?
Bye, Stephen A.
I mean,
Bye,
pick anybody.
All right, when we come back, we'll have the latest on Deflategate. Things have gone out of control.
Time.
Listen, hey, he's going to follow LeBron on Twitter. We'll be back in just a few moments.